it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini, and in this video, we're kicking off a brand new video sew-along. This time, we're making the Nico Raglan t-shirt. All right, for this sew-along, we are going to be working with Jalie pattern 3669, which is the Nico. This is a Raglan t-shirt for boys and men that comes with the same neckline, same shirt, but 3 different sleeve lengths. So here we have the short sleeve. This one is about a 3/4 sleeve, and then you have the long sleeve version. So a great wardrobe staple for the boys and men in your life. My son has made several of these. I've made him a couple also, and then I've made about 3 or 4 already for my husband, and he loves them also. Now the pattern includes all the pattern pieces, including the 3 different sleeve lengths in 27 different sizes. So we have them in our online shop if you want to get your hands on the hard copy pattern. And the sizes go from ages 2, so like a 2T toddler size for a little boy, all the way to a man's size 50, 2XL. If we read the description, it'll tell us a lot about the garment. So this one says it's a fitted Raglan tee with short, 3/4 or long sleeves, and it also includes a straight or curved hem. So you have 3 sleeve length options and 2 different hem options as well. And it just says an everyday classic for boys and men. And if you look down here on the back of the pattern sheet where the technical drawings are, you can see that it says A has the curved hem, and then view B has the straight hem. So these are the different sleeve length options, and then they show you both of the hem options right there. This box here shows you how many pattern pieces you need to make a t-shirt. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I love this pattern. So simple to put together, and I hope you'll follow along. Now, when it comes to sizing and fitting and stuff like that, because this is a stretch pattern, this is just a sew-along. I'm not going to go into all the intricacies of fit. I would just recommend that you follow the size recommendations here. It tells you where on the body to take the measurements. Then 1, 2, 3, and 4 measurements are all referenced here. Find their measurements based on the chest, waist, and hips, and also the girth, so you can adjust the height of the shirt if needed. Find the measurements here, and then you can look up or down on the columns to see what Jalie size you need to trace or cut out. Now, Jalie uses letter sizes. So for the kids, it runs from letters F through Q, which is the size range between 2T and a kid's size 13. And then for the men's sizes, you'll see that they run from letters R through double F. And then it also references the US and European sizes to give you an idea of the range. My husband is somewhere here in the medium size, so I typically will cut the size W for him in the Jalie sizes. And also, when you take the girth measurement, because you want to measure around the torso, okay, in between the legs and over the shoulder. My husband has a very long torso, so I'm going to show you how I cut the pattern piece and add length to it so it fits him a little bit better. I won't go into details because this is not that kind of a course, but it definitely still is a beginner-friendly project. For my son, I typically just cut him out the size 10 through and through, and he's 9 years old, so that tends to work fine for us. Now down here you'll see fabric requirements, and it's telling you whether you're going to make it with one color, either long, 3/4, or short sleeve. Come across here in the kids range, and that tells you how much fabric you're going to need. If you're doing it 2-tone for the front and the back of the shirt being in different fabrics, if you're doing 2-tone with the short sleeves and the band, 2-tone for 3/4 or long sleeve and band. So you have a lot of different options here. Find the one that you plan to make, and then it will tell you, come across here to the size so you can figure out how much of each of the 2 fabrics you will need. Now, because I'll be making one for my husband here, I need to be looking down here in the adult size range. I typically will cut a size of a W for him. So I want to look down here to see how much fabric I'm going to need of the 2 fabrics I want to use. So I want to make him a 2-tone shirt that's short sleeve, and I want the sleeves and the neckband to match. That means that the front and back of the shirt will be one fabric, and then my sleeves and the neckband will be another. So that's the 2-tone one I want to make. Come across here to the size W, and that says 5/8 of a yard. That tells me I need 5/8 of a yard of 2 different fabrics. All right, so I know how much fabric I need, but what type of fabric do I need to use? In this section here, it'll tell you knit with 40% stretch in the width and length. That means I need to find a 4-way stretch fabric that stretches at least 40% in both directions. Then it also goes on to suggest light to medium weight cottons, bamboos, rayon, or polyester knit with spandex. Very important. This is not for woven fabrics. You have to be using a fabric that stretches a minimum of 40% in both directions. So I'll be using cotton spandex, which is going to work perfectly for this one. Now, when you open up your pattern sheet, this is what it looks like. It's one big sheet of nice sturdy paper that you can easily trace off the pieces that you'll need. And the ladies at Jalie are amazing at this stuff. In this one sheet, they managed to fit all 27 sizes of the pattern, all the sleeve lengths, the 2 different hem options, as well as instructions and diagrams, and everything here is in English and French. Amazing. So all you would do is, once you figure out the pattern size in the Jalie sizes that you need to cut out, you'll see that on the lines, they all have the different letters that correspond to Jalie sizes, and each line is a different color. Here's just an example of one of the pattern pieces. This one says it's pattern piece B. It represents the back of the shirt pattern piece that you'll need. And if you look up here, I would be going up to W. So that's this orange line here and tracing it all the way around. When you come down to the bottom, you'll see different lines here. If you want the curved hem, follow the one that has the curved hem. If you want the straight hem, just come down to the bottom line and follow the straight hem line. You're going to trace out the pattern pieces that you need. Remember that you have a total of 4 pattern pieces that you'll need to trace out. One for the front of the shirt, one for the back, one for the sleeve that you want at whatever desired length you choose, short, 3/4, or long sleeved, and then one for the neckband. So looking, I'm trying to fit the whole pattern in the shot so you can see. The front of the pattern is here, so you go down whatever size you're cutting out, trace that one out. Because this includes 27 different pattern sizes, I do not recommend that you cut into this sheet. It's a good quality, sturdy paper. Take your pattern paper, tissue paper, or some sheer like medical examination paper and lay it over this and trace out the size that you need, especially if you're making these for kids. Next year I can make my son the larger size, the year after the bigger one, all the way up till he's an adult. These are great patterns for building up your wardrobe, and I definitely recommend that you trace off the pattern, even though I am definitely a fan of cutting it right out. So, front of the pattern, here's the back piece. This here are the sleeves, and you can see it will tell you right there, 3/4 sleeve. Make sure that you're looking at whatever length you want and the size. So if I'm wanting the short sleeve, that's right here. And then you would trace, this is the bottom of the short sleeve, come around and trace up to whatever size. So I see W again. I would be tracing out the orange line here, all the way around here, 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 and then stopping here because that's the short sleeve. If you want 3/4, those sleeve lengths end in this range, and if you're doing long sleeve, they end in this range. Just make sure that you read what it is and select the line that also matches the letter size you'll be making. And then in this corner, you have pattern piece D, which is the neckband. So just trace off the rectangle, coming down here at whatever the size is that you'll be making, and that's that piece. And a quick note, inside the back pattern piece, you'll see this box that shows you how to lengthen and shorten the pattern. So read these instructions here and follow that through so you can figure out where you need to cut on the front or back of your pattern pieces, as well as the sleeve if you need to lengthen it for any specific reason. All right, so let's have a look at the instructions. It tells you all the information that you need to get started with your project. The seam and the hem allowances are already included in the pattern pieces, so you know that. It tells you how to pick your size, to use the size that corresponds to the chest measurement. All right, so that's what I've used to come up with, and I know already because I've made several, is that I cut the size W for my husband and typically the size 10 for my son right now. And then it tells you to lengthen and shorten if your torso measurements are not the same as the torso measurement in the chart. For me, I know that I've already taken my husband's measurement. His torso is very long compared to the original pattern piece, so I'm gonna go ahead and add length to his. And then let's have a look at some other tips here. The garment is meant to be sewn at 1/4 inch from the edge. That means that is your seam allowance. If you're not used to sewing 1/4 inch because maybe you're not a quilter, you have to pay attention to this. If you sew a larger seam allowance, the garment is going to turn out to be way smaller than it's intended to be. Now the instructions are right here on the pattern sheet. If you're following along with the sew along and maybe this is your first time tackling this type of a stretch knit garment, I would still recommend that you read through all the instructions and all the information because you might find that I do things a little bit differently from the pattern, and if it's your first time, you may want to follow the instructions to the T. All right, here are the traced out pattern pieces for my son's size shirt, just so you can see that this is all we need. 4 pieces. Now, when you trace out a size, make sure that you transfer over notches, markings, reference points, and the information, what letter or number, whatever that pattern designates the pattern piece to be, the pattern name, number, the size that I've cut out, and then the instructions. This one says cut 1 on the fold, and that it is the back of my shirt. The same things are transferred here to the front, and then that says front. So I traced out those 2 for front and back. Here's for the short sleeve. Again, I put sleeve, cut 2, transfer any grain lines, any fold lines, all that kind of information that is on your pattern piece. And then that's the 4th piece, the neckband, that gets cut on the fold right here. So these are the pieces for my son's size, but I'm going to be making one here for my husband. Now, my husband's pieces are obviously bigger, but they're also more chunks because I have cut into them to add length when I go to cut it out of my fabric. So the sleeve is this one. Again, make sure you transfer all your markings and information. That's the neckband for his. And then here's the front and back, and the pieces that go at the bottom of front and back. So let's see, that's the back. So that piece goes with that one, and this is the front. So this piece goes with this one. All right, so here's my front and back. And what I did was find a straight spot here a little bit further down from this side notch, and I've just gone ahead and sliced across. I also cut across at the exact same point on the front piece because I need to add, say I add 2 inches to the length here of the back, I also need to add 2 inches to the length of the front so that the finished side seams of the shirt will still end up being the same length, and they'll be easily matched up to sew them together. Now, I'm also doing the slightly curved hem for this top I'm making for him, and you'll see that this is why I've cut this apart, because I need to make the shirt longer for him because he has a longer torso. This will take a little bit of playing around. Whether you add 1 inch or 4 inches is all going to depend on the individual you're making this top for. I've made several before, and I know that I add 2 3/4 inches to the length of this for my husband. Now, if you do go ahead and slice through your pattern and add some length in the torso area for the shirt, you can put some of the pattern paper behind it, make your measurement, and tape everything together. For me, I tend to leave them separate because sometimes I'll make him one where I add 2 inches, and if he's wearing it for different type of pants or a different fit on it, I may just make it 1.5 inches longer or 3 inches. So I don't like to have it just stuck down and taped, because then I'll have to trace out and make a whole nother piece if I want to vary the amount of length I'm adding. So instead, I add the length when I place the pattern pieces on my fabric. That might not make any sense now, but you'll see when I get to cutting my fabric. So let's set this aside for now, and let me just show you a finished Nico Raglan that I've already made for my husband here. For this one, I added 2 inches to the length of the pattern. Okay, it's again a short sleeve one, looks super cute, fully hemmed, and this one fits him great. So again, my sleeves, and I'm going to be making one similar to this because the front and the back of the shirt are the same fabric, but again, like I mentioned earlier, the sleeves and the neckband are a different fabric, but they match, right? Now this one I made in about 25 minutes, because I whip it up on a serger. In the sew along, I'm assuming that not many of you maybe have sergers, so we're going to put the next Nico Raglan tee together just using our sewing machine. And that's it for video number 1 in my Nico Raglan t-shirt video sew along series. If you enjoyed this video, hit it with a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. Let me know what you're thinking about this series, if you're excited to join along, and maybe what fabrics you plan to use. Remember, if you need the pattern or fabrics or materials and stuff to make this shirt, click on the link that you see in the description box below. You can head over to my online shop because we carry all of that stuff in stock. If you like what you see and you want to stay tuned for more videos, make sure to click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the upcoming videos I'll be posting right here on my YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.